Okay, so today I'm going to conduct a little discussion seminar here about a very hot topic. I called it to vax or not to vax, but it's an inquiry into our personal reactions to what's going on in our culture. And it's probably an example of other ways that we're affected by what's going on around us. And for some of us, this COVID vaccination question has put us into conflict with our professional colleagues, with our friends, with our family. And just let me see a show of hands right now. How many people have experienced some stress in their friends, family, that sort of thing with regard to this topic? Just want to see a show of hands here. Yeah, that's one reason why I really wanted to pick this polarization topic rather than some of the others, because it affects so many of us personally. And I want to say that by participating in this, I don't think you will come away with a lot more information, although I am going to do a screen share of some, I'm going to say some facts that I think are factual on both sides of the issue, to vax or not to vax. That's basic. I don't want to really talk about mask wearing too much. That can come in if somebody's having a share, but I think that there really is a debate about vaccination. I mean, there's a real, there really are two sides to this, probably multiple sides, but let's just, whatever it boils down to is, am I going to get this vaccination or not? So I want to make it a safe place here. That's the first thing. So I want us to kind of follow my lead. I'm going to manage this. And I've got a few ideas. I want to say a few things to sort of set the tone. And then I will have a structured sharing, and I'll have some things where different people raise their hands around different questions. And at some point, we're going to get into looking at triggers, looking at what in me is getting triggered when I have this kind of a difference, or when somebody uses that label toward me or toward my kin, my subgroup. So it's going to be a personal growth opportunity here, but put in the framework of social conflict. I want to say first what prompted me to do this topic today. It was about a week ago that I was being interviewed for a podcast by a very lovely woman who seemed bright and big heart. And she was telling, and she is not getting vaccinated, and she thinks that being vaccinated is an evidence of being fearful. And she's a kind of person who's generally identified more as trust the universe, trust life, whatever comes, I can handle it. And that seems to be more her attitude. And so she's interviewing me, but she threw a bunch of her stuff in here, and we really weren't doing an interview about COVID or about the vaccine. But she says to me, I got triggered. We were talking about triggers because my new book is From Triggered to Tranquil. And she says, I was talking to a friend the other day, and they asked me, how come you weren't vaccinated? And so she felt good about that. She said, oh, no, now I have an opportunity to just share. My friend is interested. But as soon as I started to speak, my friends started using labels, you're conspiracy theorist or different labels on me and kind of cut into me. And I never really got to finish. And that hurt me, that triggered me. And when we pursued it, we looked at how it triggered her core fear that my voice doesn't matter. Some of you who've worked with me a lot know that most of the time when we're triggered in some kind of an interpersonal situation and there's a disconnection in the relationship, it's not just about the facts and the content. It's also disconnection from someone is in itself threatening, painful, triggering. And for her, she also kind of had this momentary feeling of I'm all alone. And that's another core fear that's deep down in a lot of us. So my wish for the whole planet is that if each of us could get more insight into what's the charge about within us. What is it that causes us to go from 0 to 60 real fast, like that person who was the friend of this talk show host? And by the way, I told her I was vaccinated. I have been vaccinated, that I can see both sides of the issue. And that's kind of what I want you guys to know about too, that I've been an alternative health practitioner in my own life. Ever since the book Alternative Medicine by Burton Goldberg came out. Well, actually, my mother was a health food nut. And so, we always took care of ourselves. We didn't go to doctors. I never had the flu shot. I never thought I'd be on any pharmaceutical drugs, but I'm now on thyroid medication. But, at 80 years old, I'm basically very healthy, based on my good lifestyle choices, I think, So, some of us are more oriented that way, that whatever comes up, we can heal ourselves. And we don't want to mess with nature's natural healing ways. Okay, so, I come from that background, but I had no problem getting vaccinated, choosing to be vaccinated. And but I because I thought, well, this is a public health issue. I'm not sure of the side effects of the vaccine. I'm taking a risk. It's a gamble. I knew I was taking a gamble, but I was willing to do it, mostly for social reasons, frankly, for me. It lubricates my social relations. So, I made that choice. Each of us could explain where we are on that, and we may, but I want to help people feel safe here, because I really don't have any finger pointing or judgment, either way in my world. And I want to promote a self-inquiry. So when this topic came up with this talk show host, I could really feel her pain. And then she says something, I guess, just slipped out because she's so hurt and she's kind of triggered on the interview that she's doing with me. And she says, all you people who went down the fear rabbit hole, and, this term rabbit hole is used on both sides as a weapon, you went down that rabbit hole or you went down that. So when she said fear rabbit hole, I noticed my own nervous system, hey, wait a minute here, you're talking about me, So it was a heartfelt, lively conversation on this podcast. And I says to myself, there's a lot more here, and I'd like to take this up with my people. So you are my people, and you're going to help me explore this very tender topic. So, and some of you who've been in groups with me, that one of the things I like to do sometimes is have people raise on Zoom, have people raise a pen if you get triggered while somebody's talking, just raise a pen. It's a little hard to see here on this thing, but what I think I'm going to ask you to do just for now, so that we can see you better, is raise a hand. And even if you have your picture off, you can do the hand raising function. But if you have your picture on, just raise your hand if you have gotten at all triggered so far in some of the things I've been saying. Anybody willing to, raise your hand if you've gotten it all triggered? Let's just, be vulnerable here. Let's start out open.
I don't know.
So just leave your hand up for a minute here. Thank you. Thank you for your honesty here. And I'm going to say a few more things that might tend to be triggering, and I haven't rehearsed this, but I wanted to talk a little bit before we get into some content about people's reasons why on the yes side or the no side, because I am going to get into some content, because then content kind of has you hook your identity in. Oh, I agree with that content, I disagree with that content, and we'll get to look at content issues in a minute. But I want to say some things about how people generally make sense of their reality. I mean, what are the factors? Like, how do you make sense? And what, like I said to you already, that I have been identified, so we're talking identity here, with alternative medicine, alternative health, that subculture, that is a subculture, it's not mainstream. I've been identified with that for basically most of my adult life. So that is one factor in how I make sense. So it's your subculture. Some people have their identity more in a, there's so many subcultures, because I know there's the mainstream science subculture, and then I talk to a lot of people who are in the non-mainstream science, and they're actually afraid, a lot of them, to publish any results that are now at all questioning mainstream science. So, there's mainstream science, and then mostly universities are more like alternative science. I was a university professor for 10 years at a big university, and they tend to be pretty alternative, on like the cutting edge of thinking. And then pharmaceutical companies and mainstream science is more like corporate science. And it's a little scary to work in a corporation, because your money, whether you get paid or not, depends on like sometimes your research findings. And now I've had a lot of I've been hired by pharmaceutical companies, and I've done some work teaching people like communication skills and stuff. But if I go too far out, I will not get hired again. So, I mean, there's just certain things about who pays you that affect your identity. There's like personality style, like is another factor in this decision process. I'm talking about how people make sense now. So I'll make sense, how I make sense of an ambiguous reality will depend a little bit on my my economics, like who pays me, and my identity in terms of people of similar values to me. Another factor in how I make sense is my personality style. Some of us really are very detail oriented, and we do a lot of research before we do, especially around our health. So I just like to see how many people here have done like a lot of what you would consider a lot of research. It's like you're very careful about your health, and maybe you have some environmental sensitivities or something, but I'd like to see a show of hands here. People are very careful about your health. Yeah. And I actually would say I don't do a lot of research. I used to, but I sort of am at a place now where with this vaccine thing, I really didn't do a lot of research. I really just went with a practical solution. I says to myself, I'm 80 years old. I've lived a good life. I honestly said this, I've lived a good life. I'm not going to do too much research about this vaccine. So I just want to deal with it and get on with my life. It's not the most important thing to me right now. But those of you who are environmentally sensitive, particularly, or have sensitivity to medications, that's a factor. Okay. So and in general, there are people who are more detail oriented. And in the corporate world, when I do consulting there, I call it the do it right people and the get it done people. The get it done people are the managers, the entrepreneurs, the people who are out just getting new ideas, and the do it right people are the scientists, the engineers, the quality control people. Now, I know most of us probably don't work in corporations here, but it gives you an idea of different functions, different job descriptions are certain personality styles are suited for different jobs. And you bring those into your daily life. Are you more of a get it done person? Like good enough? Or are you more of a do it right person? Why don't we just see a show of hands to see if that distinction even makes any sense to people? So I'm a get it done person, quick, I can get a lot done in a day. Doesn't have to be perfect. Show of hands there.
Oh.
And then anybody on the other side, Ed, do it right. Let's be more careful here. And all of these things, all of these polarities that I'm bringing up now, they can cause conflicts in many realms of life, being misunderstood. Like the get it done person would say, "No, why do you take so long to make a decision?" That type of thing. So again, these are just some big picture perspectives. And then I think the one of the biggest things that affects people's decision making in this polarized area or any is your actual past life experience. I mean, early life experience. If you have had a bad reaction to medication, which I actually have. I had a very bad reaction to a pharmaceutical drug. So did my mother. Practically, it was mainly the cause for her death. Vioxx was hers. Barium is what caused my joints to all be incredibly painful for many, many months. So, I'm very aware of, from my own experience, of the pitfalls of pharmaceuticals. So some people have bad life experiences, so it's going to color your decision making. Other people are just tough as nails. They don't have, bad reactions to food or medication or anything. We really are born with different physical sensitivity levels. And then, of course, our environment and how we take care of ourselves can affect all that stuff too. So just think about your own actual life experiences that inform where you're at now. And now I'm going to share the screen. Let me see if I have that here. I want to make sure I have it up. Get rid of some of these other screens. I think I have it. Yeah, here's the screen I want to share. And I'm going to get a show of hands here in a minute and just kind of, we'll see what people agree with and disagree with. I have made a little list. It's a lot. There's a lot here. So I'll just, I'll read each one, and I want to kind of get people's, first a show of hands of whether you agree with this. There's solid data that countries and US states with low vaccination rates have higher COVID incidents. And I'm gonna stop share and just, there it is, there I can stop share. In fact, maybe I won't, maybe I'll just read these things because I want to be able to see people's hands raised. So how many people would agree that, no, the data is real that says states with higher vaccination rates have less COVID incidents? How many people agree with that?
No.
Anybody willing to disagree with that? Who disagrees with that? Take a risk.
I don't know.
And don't know. Okay, some people don't know. So that's okay too. Okay, on the other side, here's one for the no side, you know, like yes, get the vaccine, no, don't get the vaccine. And I'm not trying to help you guys make decisions here. What we're looking at is our feelings about certain data points. How many people agree with this statement? Pharmaceutical companies have been known to lie, alter data, and minimize risks in the past. How many people agree with that one? Some people are really excited about that one. All right. Now here's another yes point. It's a public health matter. Whether you get vaccinated, it's a public health matter, physical, economic, and mental health. So in such instances, individual rights need to be tempered by concern for collective well-being. How many people would agree with that one? This is a tougher one. So on the other side of that, it's a bad precedent. So this is on the no side. It's a bad precedent to give the state the power to dictate matters of individual liberties, individual health choices. That's a bad precedent. So I would, see, so we can agree to both sides of these things. I'm raising my hand for almost all of these, actually. I'll just do a few more here. On the yes side, the side effects of the vaccine are less serious than death and generally less serious than a serious bout with COVID. How many people agree with that? And it doesn't mean we've done a lot of research, but we generally feel intuitively like this is probably true. Okay. And now on the other side, there is no data yet on long-term side effects. So how many people agree with that? I mean, that one's kind of obvious because it's kind of short term. Okay, here's one on the yes side. The vaccine helps allay people's fears about gathering and being social. Okay, and on the other side, well, it's sort of on the other side. There is nothing to fear if your immune system is good. Take charge of your own health and don't expect Big Brother to always be there to protect you. Okay. Okay. And notice, anybody get triggered by anything that was said so far? Okay, I'm going to pause right here and see if anyone is willing to dialogue with me about what triggered you. And what I would do is first we would do a group calming exercise, just a little self-calming, and then we would dialogue about what came up for you in this. Anybody willing to volunteer to dialogue about something that's come up for you so far during this? David Jacobs, would you unmute yourself? I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, hi, Susan.
Hey, David. So let's do some maybe 3 or 4 with everybody, just slow conscious breaths. Not to say there's anything wrong with triggering, but we're trying to make space here for the vulnerable parts of us to feel safe enough to come up. And also for those of us listening, just if our nervous systems are well regulated, we'll be more apt to be able to hear David and connect with him. So that's the purpose here of just taking a few breaths. And just put your attention on the body sensations of the in-breath and the out-breath. It helps to breathe both in and out through the nose if you can. See if you can feel letting go and releasing on the out-breath. The out-breath is usually where we really begin to feel more relaxed. Sinking down into the chair you're sitting on. So see if you can notice that just by pausing very briefly to put your attention on your body sensations and your breathing, this brings you more present, more all here. Now I'm going to invite David to sit up and we'll look at each other if you're willing, David.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
So what did you hear or think that got you to say you were triggered?
I was triggered several times and it was somewhat challenged. The one statement where I could feel the most trigger was I had a thought that the question was loaded as in biased. I had a reaction to the words, I think something like letting Big Brother tell us what to do, or letting the state have too much control with regards to health directives, I think.
Yeah, thank you. So see if you can. So there was a inner voice that said, those are some loaded words there. That's kind of a biased way of saying this. Yeah. So let's just feel into that and just notice what is there along with that as you notice your body. What's there along with that thought?
Scared.
Mm-hmm.
Sad.
Yeah.
Tears. I've noticed in my eyes.
Yeah.
Like a rip in my chest.
Mm-hmm. And as you make space for this, just breathe to make space for that sadness and that fear. See if you can bring some tenderness, but also some curiosity, because we're going to just feel into this a little bit more. there's real useful information here in this scared and sad due to the idea and some experience that goes along with that idea that these are loaded words, this is biased. So any other words like here's some words that I'll feed you. This is a trial. Anything like that's being used against me? Is there any fear of something being against you? You're nodding.
Yes, being used against me in that I'm being given the choices to vote yes or no, but I want to go into detail. You really threw that piece in at the very beginning, my wanting to tear that thing apart and look at all the biases.
Yes, yeah. And so there's some I'm gonna say there's some motivation in you that has you wanting to tear it apart and look at all the details. That's, let's say, deeper than the COVID issue. Right, David?
Yes, it is about control of somebody else asking me questions
Yeah.
that feel like they are difficult to answer truthfully.
Uh-huh. So as I hear you say that, I imagine too, there might be some fear of being trapped along with the fear of being controlled. Does that resonate for you?
Trapped does not immediately come, but
Okay.
manipulated is the word comes to.
Manipulated. Okay, so as you say those words and describe this, can you notice what the actual experience is when you feel manipulated? What comes up as we're speaking about this?
Okay, so trapped now comes up.
Okay.
Sort of like claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm. And let's stay with that and see if there's any other associations, perhaps a memory of some time when something like this was happening to you.
Yeah, several. It happens a lot as I pay attention to it. I notice it happening almost daily, depending on who I'm interacting with. So if you're asking me to look at a historical, my father.
Well, let's go there. Just because you've already done some work around this. So report what memory comes up or what general memory comes up, and tell us what age you are here.
I'd say 8, 6, somewhere in there, young preteen. My father coming home late at night after work and then getting me and my brother out of bed and saying some kind of lecture, with questions about, is this the way you leave your room?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then my brother perches up with, yes, because it was the way we left the room. But my dad slapped him. And I remembered, oh, that's right. You don't answer questions. Questions come at you for some other reason.
Wow. Let's pause with that and really bring some tenderness to that 8-year-old kid. I imagine that a lot of us can feel some empathy for that. And I feel fear in my body as I listen to you, David. I feel agitation in my chest. So I'm breathing more fully, and I invite you to do the same as we make a little more space to be empathetic with this young kid who experienced that and probably this type of thing more than once. Is that correct, David?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I notice you touching your middle of your body there. Is that kind of a self-soothing gesture?
Yeah, I'm just remembering that little boy still lives in me and needed to be, I'm telling myself, you were right all along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, my feelings were justified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that I'm much older.
Yes, it's nice. So you have access to this inner wisdom now, and I also think of it as your inner good parent that just holds space and says, yes, yes, there's nothing wrong with you for feeling what you feel. I mean, that's basically what the good parent says. You are valid. You get to feel what you feel, and we're gonna hold you with love right now. And that touching of your body can really anchor that in. Thank you so much. And I'm doing this for myself right now, which is kind of an automatic thing that I find myself doing. So we're gonna bring this to a close now, David, and I want to thank you so much for just being willing to be with me here. And yeah, some people are kind of doing this to show appreciation for David. So let's do that if you feel that sincerely. Yeah. Yeah. Nice demonstration.
Thank you, Susan,
Hmm.
for the free therapy. It was really wonderful.
That's what we do on these calls.
I'm going to mute, let somebody else have time. I'm already worked out here.
Yeah, we'll leave you in the background. We're not going to call more attention to you. But others of you, I want to just invite you to speak about yourself. As I was working with David, did anybody get any insight into your own self with regard to issues like this? And let's have somebody speak. Karen, do you want to speak? And then we'll have Debbie speak after that. I'll just get a couple of you.
Yeah, what happened inside me is it took me back in time in my life where I was being gotten out of my bed at nighttime. It took me to that inner child that's inside me that gets to be valid and feel how she feels and hold her in tenderness and compassion for the fear and the powerlessness. That's how I felt, powerless.
Yeah. And did it tie in at all with any of your reactions to the COVID issue in
Totally.
Oh, speak to that for a minute.
I've been incredibly distressed, but by what I interpret as disregard for my well-being. I have a really core thing about being powerless and not being able to have a say. So if you and I are in a grocery store, for instance, and they decided that 6 feet was a good distance for us to all stay healthy, then I don't understand. I get triggered because I want to matter too. I want my sense of what's healthy and safe to matter just as much as your sense of, hey, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I can get close to you because it just really doesn't matter to me, but I'm like, hey, I get to matter too.
Yeah. So let's pause and as we listen to Karen, check in with ourselves. Notice what's going on in your own breathing and body sensations right now. And thank you very much, Karen. And the core fear, sometimes it's good to just be able to label your core fears, and Karen knows enough to label her interpretations as interpretations. Like I interpreted this to mean my voice doesn't matter. And let me see a show of hands. How many of you on this call are willing to raise your hand if you also know that you have some sensitivity about being heard, being included? My voice might not matter, and that's scary for me. How many people are in that along with Karen? Yes, you're not alone, Karen. Yeah. Thank you. I'm just going to talk a little bit to Debbie now, if you still want to exchange with me, Debbie.
Yes, so this all goes back, for me, it goes back to discussions around the dinner table between my older brother and my mother that got quite, well, they sounded angry to me.
Mhm.
And I wanted to leave the table because my tummy started to hurt. And Mom would angrily say, you need to hear this. This is good for you.
Hmm.
And I thought, why? Well, for one thing, I was younger. I didn't understand the issues they might have been talking about. I couldn't participate. I couldn't debate. I just felt like my mom and my brother are angry with each other and there's trouble in the family and I just want to get out of here. So that's been a lifelong feeling like I can't debate. I have no facts. There's just no point. My voice doesn't matter. It comes down to that. And that's why I told you about the hostess at lunch who said, why can't we use ivermectin to treat a COVID? And I said, but why would you use an anti-parasitic to treat a virus? And she said, because it works. And I thought, what's the point? My voice doesn't matter.
Yeah. So let's feel again for your sitting at the dinner table. So graphic to me, Debbie, and two people are fighting. And I'll bet you a lot of us have the experience of being scared when people who are important to us are not getting along.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna just sort of bring this up to the whole collective now, rather than going any deeper into your history there, because you've labeled it very well. It's the experience for me, this two factions at the dinner table at war with each other. It's like, I actually, as a member of this culture, it's sort of like mommy and daddy are not getting along, and who's minding the store? And there's so many alternative polarized positions here. And when it gets heated, I get scared. And there's a collective kind of traumatization, just like what Debbie described at her dinner table, that is seeping in now. And I at least for me, I'm feeling it just as a member of this human dysfunctional family. And I want to just, how can we support each other?
Right.
How can we really be there for each other when the things are, like, how can, in Debbie's family, how can they be there for each other when, like, some people are witnessing and some people are the actors, and those of us who are just sitting there watching, let's say, at least in this one analogy, I think we need to reach out to each other and say, this is hard for me. This is hard for me to watch our country fighting. So
Yes.
I kind of want to just wrap up with that. I'm going to end a little early because I have another session that I have to do today at 11 and I need a break. But I want to end with just a moment of tenderness for all of us who are really being affected by the conflicts around us. I'm just so glad you gave us that dinner table example, Debbie, because I've been there. Sometimes I say, I feel like I'm sitting in the back seat of an automobile. It's being driven by somebody else, and the two parents in the front seat are fighting, and I'm in the back seat. And I'm kind of like, are they even capable of driving the car? Kind of thing. I mean, I go into all kinds of little images like that in my own self. Yeah. So let's end with a few slow breaths of appreciation for Debbie and Karen and David and ourselves for showing up here. Because, even though I didn't get everybody talking and debating, it was a risk to even show up here, I think, for a lot of us, because this is such a tender and volatile topic, you know? So I'm going to close this now with great gratitude. This was an experiment. I'll probably do some more of these. I'm not sure if I want to use the Tuesday calls for this, but I'll put something else out because it really is a topic where I think we could go further. We just scratched the surface today. Thank you so much. But I do think we see how the collective and the personal are connected. So we're kind of all working out our healing on our own individual stage, but we're part of the big stage too. Okay, bye for now. Thanks
Love
for
you, Susan. Love
Thank
you.
you,
thanks
Susan.
for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Susan.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, David.
Hi,
Thank you
Susan.
so much for sharing, David.
Bye, Susan.
Bye, thank
Bye.
you.
Good to see you.
Toodaloo.
Yeah, good to see you, Tabor.
Thank you.